I always thought betrayal would feel like a knife in the back. Sharp, immediate, undeniable. But when I first started suspecting Melissa, it wasn't like that at all. It was slow. A creeping, crawling doubt that gnawed at me late at night, when I was alone in bed and she was somewhere else. At first, I told myself I was imagining things. We had been married for 9 years. We had been through everything together. She wasn't perfect. She had a sharp tongue, a habit of dismissing my concerns, an obsession with social media that made her crave attention in ways I didn't always understand. But she was my wife, and I loved her. It started with the usual excuses: late nights at work, sudden plans with friends I'd never heard of, a phone that never left her hand. Then came the distance. Melissa had always been affectionate, but now, she barely touched me. Kisses became quick, mechanical. Conversations were filled with half-truths and careful omissions. Then, one night, I reached for her in bed, and she pulled away. "I'm just tired, Nick," she muttered, rolling onto her side. Her body was tense, her voice distant, and that's when I knew. This wasn't in my head. Something was wrong. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I started watching. Melissa thought she was being careful, but people like her, selfish, reckless, entitled, always made mistakes. She still used our shared bank account. She didn't delete her location history. And most importantly, she still assumed I was the same gullible husband who trusted her completely. I wasn't. Within a week, I had everything I needed. Dinner reservations for 2 at a high-end restaurant. Late-night Uber rides to an address I didn't recognize. Hotel charges on our joint credit card. And then, the final proof, a photo. She must have thought I'd never check. But there it was, buried in her hidden album on her phone. A picture of her and him, sitting close together at a bar. His hand on her thigh, her smiling. I felt a strange calm settle over me as I stared at the image. I should have been furious. I should have broken something. But instead, I started planning. Melissa wanted excitement. She wanted a thrill. I was going to give her a night she would never forget. She didn't even hesitate when she told me she had plans with a friend. "I won't be out late," she said, adjusting her dress in the mirror. She looked beautiful, effortlessly put together. The kind of woman who knew how to turn heads. I forced myself to smile. "Have fun," I said, kissing her cheek. She barely reacted. And then she was gone. I waited exactly 20 minutes before leaving the house. I knew where she was going. I had seen the reservation in her email. 8 p.m. Ember and Vine. A fancy, intimate restaurant in the city. The kind of place you went when you wanted to impress someone. I arrived at 7:55, dressed in a suit, my heart steady. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't angry. I was ready. I walked inside and spotted them immediately. Melissa was sitting across from him. A man in his late 30s, clean-shaven, expensive suit, a perfect cliché of the wealthy, married businessman. She was laughing, leaning forward, twirling her wine glass between her fingers. The look on her face made my stomach turn. Not just because she was cheating, but because she looked happy, freer than she ever looked with me. I clenched my jaw and walked toward them, ignoring the hostess who was trying to stop me. Melissa noticed me too late. Her head jerked up, her smile freezing. "In, Nick?" she stammered. Her lover turned, confused at first. Then, realization dawned. I smiled. Calm, collected, dangerous. "Hi, sweetheart." I pulled out the envelope and tossed it onto the table. Melissa didn't move. "What is this?" she whispered. I slid into the empty seat beside her and leaned in. "Go ahead. Open it." Her hands shook as she picked it up. She glanced at me once more, as if begging me not to do this. Then she opened it, and the color drained from her face. Inside were printouts of the hotel bills, screenshots of their messages, the photo of them at the bar. The truth, in black and white. The man shifted uncomfortably. "Listen, Shut up," I said, my voice deadly calm. "I'm not here for you." I turned back to Melissa, who was on the verge of tears. I leaned closer, my voice low, private, for her ears only. "I know everything," I whispered. "And now, so will everyone else." She blinked. What do you mean?" I pulled out my phone. I showed her the email. The one I had sent 5 minutes ago. To her parents. To her friends. To her boss. With attachments. Melissa gasped, her breath hitching. Nick, please. You can't. I smiled. I already did. The restaurant was silent, people at the surrounding tables watching. Melissa looked around, realizing that everyone was staring at her. The weight of her humiliation crashed down, and she broke. Tears spilled down her face. She covered her mouth, her shoulders shaking. I stood up, buttoning my jacket. Enjoy your dinner. Then I walked away. I didn't look back, because I didn't need to. Melissa was already ruined. The aftermath. She tried calling me. Dozens of times. I ignored her. I went home, packed a single bag, and left. She came home hours later, her mascara streaked, her hands trembling as she reached for me. Nick, she sobbed. I can fix this. I looked at her. I didn't see my wife anymore. I saw a stranger. No, I said simply. You can't. She lost everything after that. Her boss fired her. Her family stopped speaking to her. Her affair partner? Gone. I moved out, filed for divorce, and let her drown in the mess she created. Melissa thought she could have everything. She ended up with nothing. And I never looked back. Thank you for listening to the story to the end. Please like, share your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel.